A good morning to all our viewers out there. You're welcome to our breakfast show. Today's edition of the Community Breakfast Show. Here with me, Alex Shimba. I'll be on your screen for the next 2 hours. And in these 2 hours, we'll be unpacking quite a number of issues. Just after the morning boost, I'll be joined by Dr. Cheso Valika, who's actually president for Medical Women Association of Zambia, to just come and talk about the issue of mental health and also the stigmatization that is surrounded by that aspect. So she'll come and to bring about clarity in terms of information needed in society today, especially that recently we just experienced a wave of suicidal thoughts and cases that somebody recorded in the recent past. And so we need sensitization to our communities out there on the need of embracing mental health. And later on, we'll be actually unpacking the issue of national values, principles, and the moral aspect. And how far have we gone since the address on the 11th of March by the Republican president when he addressed the nation in Parliament on that topic? How much are we performing, and what progress have we made as a country, especially now that we're commemorating Easter? That is a 4-day holiday that we're currently having. So we get to actually identify and also investigate how much effort the country is doing in that aspect. And later on, we'll be joined by Bishop Masupa David, who's going to help us even unpacking this major topic. And afterwards, we're going to have also a child right advocate, Mr. Humphrey Chilala, to just make also commentaries on the issue of child rights in Zambia. But before we jump right there in the deepest of our conversations today, we'll be inviting you on the phone lines that are numbers scrolling on your screens, and also on Facebook, where we're actually streaming live. But before that, let's have some stretch. Here's your morning boost.
Good morning and welcome to our morning breakfast, and this is the Morning Boost, and I am your presenter, Isaac Matsa. I am here so that we can be able to do a warm-up exercise together just before you go about your day. All right, as usual, we are going to start with a warm-up. There we go, warm-up. 1 minute warm-up. After that, we'll be able to do some mountain climbers. Just that. For a minute. Let's go. How was your night? Say something so that we know where you're watching us from. If you're watching via Facebook, let's go. By the way, this is what I'm doing. See that? That's the workout all together. You're going to feel your calves actually. You're going to feel your legs. 1 minute warm up. Let's go. And let's change to the warm up. That trotting. Go. 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 Down with the warm up. Getting into a wake up now. Let's go. Faster. Faster. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. That's it. Today, we're going to do something different. Let's do this now. Go down. Lay flat. It's a 3-minute workout. Bring in your leg out, in, out. Okay? In, out, in, out. That's the workout you're going to do now. So you come here, go down, body posture like that. Let's go. 1, 2. Let's work on the tummy. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's your first 10. So I'm going to do another 10. Let's go. Same thing. Down, straight up, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you're doing it correctly, you're going to feel your arms. 10. Okay, so that's 20. I have 2 more sets. Remember, just 5 minutes every morning. That's all you need. Okay, 3rd set, let's go. 1, 2, 3. You should feel your arms. 4, and the belly. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's my 3rd set. I'm gonna do the 4th one now. So that's gonna be 40. So I'm working on the tummy, also strengthening my arms. Let's go, last 10. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 40. So I've worked on my triceps and biceps, burning fat on the arms and the tummy as well. Okay, so the same workout. This time I'm going to do it faster. Remember, it's a 3 minutes workout. Okay, so I'm good. 1 minute now. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's cool down. So try that. After you come back home, try to do those workouts. And they're going to work out for you perfectly. So this is very good for you every time you do that. So let's do now a cooling down now. Easy. Easy. You've done the workout already. Easy. Thank you so much. This is Isaac Matsa, and I'm going to see you again. Stay blessed and stay fit. Thank you.
Welcome to our edition of the morning breakfast here on Camnet TV, the edition that comes on your screen every Monday and Tuesday with me, Alex Shimba. Now, you might be noticing something different about today's edition, that I'm alone. Well, my colleague and my co-host, Deborah Mshala, is not with me, but she'll be there tomorrow. So, that's it. I'm joined by a very important guest for today. This is Dr. Cheswa Valika, who's actually the president for Medical Women Association of Zambia, who help us just to discuss the issue of mental health. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Good
how
morning.
Are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
And how is the Easter, Lord?
Happy Easter. It's
Happy
wonderful
Easter.
to be here, and it's great to celebrate with family and others the risen Lord.
Yeah. Now, just before we get into our conversation of today, you actually had a trip to Nigeria.
Yes.
Are you able just to share some highlights of what your experience that side? And
Wow.
really, what occasion were you following?
Right. Really very excited to be back home, but spent almost 2 weeks in Nigeria. We were invited to celebrate a Christian celebration which culminated in Palm Sunday. Different people from all over the world gathered in Elele, which is in River State. And there we were together with over 70,000 Christians. So it was just, yes, it's a big number. And we went to see what the founder, who is Reverend Father Professor Emmanuel Ede, has done. And it is just awesome to see how a priest can create schools, universities, hospitals, orphanages, and various companies that produce so many things. So we were there to learn. We also met a lot of wonderful people. So it was really a wonderful occasion and learning experience. and we're happy to be home and share what we learned while we were there.
Yeah. Before we just open the show, we were actually having a chat on the attitude of Nigerians towards work, businesses, and their, aggressiveness in jumping on things, opportunities. Maybe share that, and maybe one or two people can learn from that and emulate the attitude.
Yes. Well, one of the things we learned that was very obvious, I'm not sure whether it is because of the population, but it's the positive, I say positive aggressiveness because it's not always seen in the negative way. But when one starts to do something, they want to see it succeed till the end, despite the challenges they may face. This is because of the competition that they have. So whatever somebody chooses to do, they want to do their best. Because if you're mediocre and there are so many of you, you will not survive. Indeed. So we see that there's a lot of quality stuff that people do, even in simple things, whether they are making water, whether they are selling fritters on the roadside, you will see just that quality that is put in there so that more people buy from them and they will not be bypassed. So that's one thing I learned, that I need to put in my best in whatever I do and just make sure that I succeed. Otherwise, if I slack and I'm ordinary, nothing good will come out of it.
Yeah. So just before we get to our conversation, there's a story that we did concerning mental health, and on 25th of February, a group of organizations and also students marched all the way from Rhodes Park to somewhere Onza, and their message was just to sensitize the people on mental awareness and just the issues surrounded that time. You remember, Doc, it's around that time, February, so where we had this huge and weird wave of suicide cases, and it was really worrisome to a lot of stakeholders, and these are the people that actually marched all the way to just sensitize the people across the country on the need for mental health. Let's just take a look, and when we get back to dive right into the discussion of today.
Right.
An assessment that was conducted by the Ministry of Health revealed that COVID-19 has affected the response to other diseases. Undoubtedly, mental health is among diseases badly affected. People like this youth, who was allegedly shot by the police during the gassing protest episode in the year 2020, never received counseling assistance to overcome the trauma he went through, and his mother is worried.
After one shooter, chali chatala uno chali kapono kar bati para pa kunyesha uba ngatapta uba ngapta na pamawe ero chali karipu ngapta pamawe ero kwali karipu karipu ibulete na yalipti na viwati yafumina kulast queen yali.
As for now, he is emotionally disturbed. Then he can do anything because his condition. He might look okay when you look at him, but the way he behaves, you can tell that he's not okay. He's not emotionally okay.
He is among the many citizens that need counseling services to safeguard their psychosocial well-being, to help them stay away from getting into a crisis like others who have been let down by their families and society. University Teaching Hospital psychiatrist registrar Dr. Naim Dalo says due to worry and stress over the coronavirus and loss of income among other issues, some people resort to bad coping mechanisms such as substance abuse, thus worsening the mental health problem in Zambia, a trend he says must be reversed.
Now with coronavirus, as we have witnessed, there have been a lot of changes in our daily living. Things are more expensive, the socioeconomic condition is different. Preventive measures have also been put in place, such as schools have closed down. So we have to look at all the different people that are affected by COVID-19. Everyone is affected by COVID-19, psychologically, emotionally, as well as socially.
Some people, in a quest to uphold their status as social media celebrities, Zambia has been treated to unusual behaviors that may require a mental health therapy. And what is worrying is that others are being exploited, both on social and mainstream media. Mental Health Users Network of Zambia coordinator Sylvester Katontoka reminds families to embrace relatives suffering from mental illness.
Our own sister, our own brother, our own mother our own father, why should mental illness separate them from the family? No. I think for me, this is the worst criminality, cruelty that Zambia is giving to its own people.
Disability Rights Watch National Coordinator Bruce Choma is disappointed over the failure to effectively implement the Mental Health Act of 2019.
The Mental Health Act has been very explicit in saying that mental health and physical health services shall have equal status. That means that whatever attention the state is giving to other health conditions that are physical in nature, whether it is HIV/AIDS, whether it is mothers and children, antenatal, and other services, they must ensure that also mental health services access an equal amount of support.
Everyone is a potential mental health victim. Hence, combating the disease remains a collective responsibility. Patrick Soko, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
According to available statistics, every year, over 700,000 people take their own life. Every suicide is a tragedy that affects families, communities, and entire countries and has long-lasting effects on the people left behind. For Zambia, it is something that has become a common post on social media, tagged with an obvious caption, "Rest in peace, you have gone too soon." February 25, 2022, stakeholders marched the Great East Road as part of raising awareness on mental health. To these people, this is an urgent societal problem that needs the attention it requires past social media. Clothes worn inside out to demonstrate the importance of opening up as ways of dealing with various mental health issues. They have challenged government to take action by raising the funding base and budgetary allocation on mental health to save the Zambian people.
The increase in the number of suicide cases in this country, and also the cases that we've been attending to at the rehabilitation center, in that these numbers are quite alarming, and we cannot stand and watch whilst a number of people are losing their lives. And when there is a solution, we decided to send a message today to the nation and also to the world at large, to those that might be affected, to say there's always a solution, there's always a way out.
Depressed. Out of our HIV patients, 46% of them are depressed. That means you are talking about 4 in every 10 HIV patients are depressed. 29% of patients of hypertension are depressed. When you see the suicide cases, the diabetics are depressed. Everyone is having issues. These young people in their schools are having issues. Our plea and submission to you, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and our leaders, and we are happy to see that you can support causes such as this one, is can we have policies that address this issue?
Considering the fact that this hits mostly the youth, being the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years olds globally as of the year 2019. Pupils had this to say.
Some pupils face depression, bullying because of their looks, background, and inadequacies. This must come to an end. Young people need that shoulder to lean on that won't judge or take advantage of our weakness. Thirdly, we not only have to win the battle, but win the war.
And social media influencers have submitted their views on mental health.
Just showing people that it's okay to speak out. It's okay to bring out your issues and speak to someone. And that's the message. The message is bring it out, because a problem shared is halfway solved.
Share your problems. And I think we should have people that will be there just for that, you know, just to engage in a talk with someone who's going through such a type of situation.
So men should also start speaking out. I think it's very important that we don't look at what society is causing us into doing, or rather forcing us into, you know, staying closed up.
Here, we should love one another. We should be able to allow other people to express themselves so that they don't bottle things up and end up, you know, in bad places.
Meanwhile, Minister of Youth Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshi has assured government's commitment to promoting mental wellness among citizens in the country.
Christian, for some Christians, when someone has mental health challenges, they say it's a demon. Not everything is demonic. Some things are just life and they are challenges. And I urge us to open our hearts and open our minds and accommodate our friends and loved ones who are facing these challenges.
The march past was dubbed Inside Out with one message to humanity: it is okay to speak out for better mental health. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka. Couple of stories depicting what we're currently talking about. So Doc, there's certain things that are coming out so strong. The issue of opening up when you're going through something, just the need to gather your courage and open up to someone. I mean, what's the importance of that part of the mental health?
Okay, and yeah, as you have mentioned, or as we saw in the caption here, we saw that mental health issues affect all sectors. The youth were there, the celebrities were there, all these other diseases that were mentioned. People can have their emotional, psychological, or social well-being affected. Mental health talks about how you're able to cope with stress. There are others who can manage, others who cannot. And that's the importance of having somebody to talk to. When you're not feeling yourself, all of us need somebody who we can share how we feel without feeling condemned, without feeling stigmatized, without being blamed. I like the way somebody mentioned that mental health issues should be treated just like any other illness.
Indeed.
Some of it can be treated at home just by having a loved one come and talk to you, encourage you, tell you, come on, you failed your exam. This is not the first time. You're not the only one. Change your study habits. Do this, do that, and make you feel better, and you're back on track. But there are others where, depending on the level of stress, the level of depression, the level of how you've been affected, you may need to be seen by a specialist who may need to even admit you for observation or put you on treatment. So yes, we all need somebody to talk to.
Let's talk about the issue of sensitization. Do you feel we're doing much in sensitization the communities, and sensitizing the communities out there in terms of how best they can embrace this idea of mental health, and also making sure that they get rid of the stigmatization that is attached to it?
I feel there is still a lot that needs to be done on issues of mental health, because the common person felt a person with mental illness is mad and just needs to go to China and should be locked up. You know, we have just such a negative impression of talking about mental illness. So a lot of awareness needs to be shared out there. We need to know that anybody can be affected at different times of our lives, depending on what we go through. And we need to talk to somebody, and we also need to refer those cases that need further help. Whether it's in the workplaces, if somebody is depressed, is not coping, you need to find out, why does my colleague drink so much? He probably may have an issue that needs to be tackled. So rather than condemn or laugh or ridicule, talk to that person, or further send that person to a counselor who will break those issues down and help them cope in a healthier way than just taking out too much alcohol or taking drugs. So yes, there is still a lot of awareness that we need to share out there to let the people know what is mental illness first and foremost. Many people, in the olden days, we used to sit together and have dinner together. That way, your mother was able to say, hey, why are you looking sad? And then talk about it. But nowadays, there's no time, even in the homes, to
people
talk
eat
about
separately.
things. People eat separately. People struggle on their own. They are there on their computers and laptops. You don't know what family members are going through. So even sharing simple issues such as this, the importance of family talking to each other more. Even during this period of Easter, a lot of people are celebrating, but imagine that person who lives alone, who has no one to even say good morning, no one to say, hey, you're looking good, no one to say anything good about them. We need to do more of that to just make people feel important, feel loved, and just have someone who say, hey, you're not looking happy today, what's going on? And someone may just want to talk about, you know what, I lost my phone yesterday and I'm so depressed. Talk about it, make a joke out of it, give them solutions if you can, and let the person move on. But sometimes it's just how to cope with different situations in life. I know someone who also almost killed themselves after the brother was involved in a car accident. So it's just the way we cope with different situations.
And the different things that triggers that.
Some can manage, others cannot. And it's not always just negative self-inflicted issues that cause people to be depressed. Failure at work, failure with business, not being promoted, and all this. So just having that person who can talk someone through a situation and help them cope and tell them, you know what, tomorrow is a new day. You can try this, try that. You can get up again. We need to have a lot more people who can counsel. But even these, it's important for them to keep their confidentiality, because that's also another issue. Sometimes we are ready to listen to people, but then we are the next person to talk, to spread the story.
And the issue of social media, really.
Exactly.
You see something that you confided in someone on social media, and that really wasn't in the situation. So I'm sure I agree with you. There's need for these people that approach and open up to them, they should keep that to themselves if it's in confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And maybe, do you feel we also need government to jump on it in terms of supporting programs, funding them, and also the policy directing to a situation where people can actually embrace this and appreciate the idea of mental health?
Well, I don't particularly work in the government, but I will tell you that I know that the Ministry of Health has done quite a lot. The clinics do have departments that tackle mental health, but that's what people do not know, that there are counselors who are there even in the clinics. And should you have a mental problem, you can go to a clinic and be helped. There are counselors out there, there are mental health workers that are there to counsel and refer you should you need further help. So most of the time like we said, this is the awareness that we need, and we need people from these departments to come out here and talk to us about the services that are there. There is a lot of work that is already being done that people are not aware.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, quite profound information out there. Now, taking advantage of you, Doc, since you are here, I just want to have maybe a short time for you to just update the nation on the need of keeping themselves. You know, recently we received confirmation from the Ministry of Health on the case and that broke out in Lusaka's Mtendere compound of cholera. And last time, from the information I have, it showed like in 2018, that's we had cholera cases, cholera breakout, and since then we've never really experienced it. But now we're having it. And recently the update from the Ministry of Health also has confirmed that Zambia is again hit by an outbreak, and the cholera outbreak is currently affecting cumulative number of 9 people. From Tendere East, that is about 4 people. Chilanga Middle East, that's about 3 people. And Kavengwa 1 and Matero 1, while 2 of the patients have recovered and have been discharged. So this is according to information we're having like recently following the update. Now, the question is, how do people keep themselves in this current situation that we have this pandemic amidst us?
All right. We know that cholera is a waterborne disease which is passed on by eating food or water or drinks that are contaminated. And especially during this period of celebration and all, a lot of us tend to go out and eat food or meals that are prepared by others, and that is where we need to be very, very careful. So if you can, avoid eating foods that you do not know who cooked it, because you do not know how they prepared it. How clean were the the places that they were preparing this food. Even the food itself, the cooking utensils, the person who was preparing, did they wash their hands and all? Because contamination can happen at any point. But there's also one tendency that I see here in Zambia, sometimes, especially these public functions, you go at 10 and the food is supposed to be prepared at lunchtime and you end up eating 17 hours.
When it's cold.
Yeah, when it is cold.
Yeah.
And we know that if there is any bacteria or any germs that are in the food, they'll multiply, and this food can become further contaminated and cause problems. But also the mode of serving. We know that there are rules, even with COVID, on how food should be served to other people. But even in parties, you'll see where the one spoon, each person serves themselves. So there are people who are handling, you're handling the same spoon, all 100 of you who have lined up. Even the public, the toilets that are there in this public place. Imagine where there are 200, 300 people. You all go and open the door, hold that handle as you're opening the door. You do not know whether the people wash their hands after helping themselves. So there are so many points of contact that you can pick up when you go out to these public places. So it is very important, avoid eating food from the outside, especially when you do not know who cooked it. Eat food that is hot, because when it is hot, you know that the chance of contamination are less. Yes, and wash your hands often, because as you go to public places, there are so many places that you may touch which could be contaminated. Yes, so those are some of the important points. And should you feel ill, quickly go and seek medical attention, because it is sometimes, even when you are very, very careful, you can pick up some of this contaminated food that can affect you. But once you feel ill, seek medical attention early so that it is treated and you don't spread it out to other people. So these are a few tips that I would share for now as we celebrate, as we go out and eat.
Yeah, very profound tips out there. And I hope our viewers out there are taking note of certain things that you can actually do to keep yourself safe amidst this cholera outbreak. And especially that we are in the period of Easter celebrations, just like Doc has said, you need really to keep yourself safe. So Dr. Cheswa Valika is actually the president for Medical Women Association of Zambia, and she does pick up on this health segment, which we always remind our viewers out there, like they should sponsor for publicity purposes. And if you want visibility of your company, you can take up this particular segment and come on board just to make adverts out of it. And that's our today's health segment. And when we come back, we'll jump onto the other side. Stay tuned.
TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back and thank you for staying in tune with us. We're just going to do a money market as at now, and just to see how the business world looks like in terms of the kwacha exchange rate, and that is the United States dollars buying at 17 kwacha point 24 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha point 58 ngwe, and the Great British Pound is buying at 22 kwacha 56 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 00 ngwe. The euro is buying at 18 kwacha point 89 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha point 26 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha point 17 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha point 20 ngwe. So there you have it, and in case you're going out in various business endeavors, and you can see a bit of stabilization of the kwacha since we updated last week on this particular platform, Breakfast Show, where we get to update the money market every day in the week. And that said, let me just also make a reminder to say the money market is also up for grabs in terms of publicity for your company's organization, and you can jump on it just to, advertise on that slot. That makes the two slots, the health segment and also the money market. Right about now, we jump direct into our Zoom in headlines. This is the part now we get to review some stories that we compiled on the community desk, and one of them coming from the Lusaka's Kalingalinga compound, where some odd people were visited in that compound by a group of people, especially those two actors, Mr. Shambosha and also Madam Zulu, who are popularly known as Amai Guru in popularly known Siri, that is in Pali. And they went in that compound to just give donation to these senior citizens in the light of Easter, form of celebrating the lives of these people. Let's just take a look and see, and when we get back, we get to jump right in that discussion and the story. Stay tuned.
Different situations, but the same story. Past the age of 80 years at most, still struggling for survival. These are some of the aged Lusaka's Kalingalinga compound who shared the Easter Sunday in a surprise visit made to them by the Zambian Community Development Initiative Program, ZCDIP. The organization, in collaboration with the two actors, Wanga Zulu, popularly known as My Guru, and Joseph Shambosha, popularly known as Boaz in Zambian Siri Mpali, made donation of foodstuffs to these senior citizens.
Because Kudya is an example one of them. Kudya kwa hivyo ngamba isenza bya bwanji. Say need that you need to eat. Unavina nguvemfunikira. Ngauzeko bantu bene bangafune kumita ndizani.
The beneficiaries has thanked the group and plead for assistance in other pressing challenges they are facing.
Namzimayo. To me now, this one, the woman you are seeing here, I treat her as my sister. She's no longer my in-law. She's my sister. So, nikamba kuti mulungu akudaliseni.
It can't be the same. Iwe usambile chiki, uzako wasambile atabe manzi, basiyani. Uzako wadia kapenta, iwe wadia lepu. Ngaringani? No.
Meanwhile, in an interview with Camnet News, the duo have revealed that this is part of the embarked-on process of identifying senior members of the general public across the country for moral, material and financial support.
Grandmothers, fathers, staying hungry. Maybe they stay hungry the whole day, they don't eat, They stay in two-roomed houses. It's sad. Like the other one I saw, she's got 10 grandchildren, 10 plus herself, 11, and they stay in two rooms.
And that two room is just a bedroom and a sitting room.
They sleep on the floor. So we are expecting a lot. We are only praying to God that
keep on.
Yes, we keep on.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
we're
okay, for
expecting.
instance,
They have since called on other well wishers to support this noble cause.
And yeah, so we've taken note of everything that is needed. And our wish is not just in Lusaka where we have aged people, no.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. And that's why we want now to be visiting across the country. Yes, and if at all, the people also can donate even their properties. Well, we would want to keep these people, aged people, where they can't keep themselves, they can't afford to cook, there's no one to look after them. So as we can provide that services to them, provided we join together with other companies and the people in the community.
The initiative has Sunday benefited 18 aged of Kalingalinga compound and aims at undergoing this process even in other parts of the country. Alex Chimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
There you have it, some good activities there, in terms of just seeing and also remembering the aged in our communities. I think that's important. And right about now, we get to our discussion that we actually promised that we're going to unpack the issue of child labor and the impact that it has on children. So I'm joined in by Mr. Humphrey Chilala, who's the child rights advocate in the studio, to just help us unpack that topic. Good morning, Mr. Chilala.
Good morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how is the Easter going for you?
So we are a little blessed. We are enjoying it.
Yeah, it's quite important that you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we just jump on our topic, maybe a little bit of how your advocacy has been and what made you to be so passionate about this idea of just representing the child and just advocating for child rights out there.
Okay. It started from school way back, where we used to debate. From there, we interact with the communities, finding out the social problems they are facing with. I was engaged with the World Division at some point at school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which period of school? Which stage? Is it
2015? At
senior,
secondary
secondary
level.
Okay.
Yes, at the secondary level.
Okay.
In 2015, I was engaged with the Minister of with the World Division here. So we worked for 6 months in Mazabuka. Yeah, and that time, doing in school, you go for your community issues, such kind of thing. Yeah.
So talking of child rights, at which point did you start, being so active on advocating for that?
Okay. I have been doing one or two things with the recent Minister of Gender, Madam Elizabeth. First of all, we engaged on the issues to do with ending child marriages with New Vision Times organizations, with other colleagues who are as advocates as well.
Great. Now, protecting children's rights is quite crucial, to the survival, health, and well-being of Zambians. New generation, like the young people. Children have the right to grow up in a safe and, supportive environment, free from violence, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Now, what's the importance of us discussing the issue of child labor, especially now that we've actually seen some children being in the labor sector and, doing some works at a very tender age? So what's the importance of that? Now, you can maybe just define and also make the importance attached to this topic.
Okay. First of all, allow me to define the word child labor. Generally, I would say it's a global issue affecting the children from fulfilling their potential dreams. Yeah. Any work which is harmful to a child's way of being is child labor. But in most cases, we have seen that this child labor we are talking about is somehow engaged to early marriages. Because when you talk about child labor, like the causes, you may find them again in early marriages. They are also the causes at some point. You see? Because the first thing which comes, poverty is one of the key elements leading to child labor and early marriages. So, despite that, these two, it involves a female, others it involves both female and male.
Male children.
Yes.
Okay, so what in terms of sensitization, at which point are we as a country just sensitizing the people on this issue and making sure that to some extent we end this vice?
You know, I would say law and enforcers. The resources which have been located to that child labor department to enforce the law, it has been little. So as a result, there is nothing much has been done to end child labor. You know, and also parents' contribution of not knowing what child labor is has also contributed. Because if you can go in a community today to say, what's child labor? You are going to hear saying, child labor again, we are saying issue child labor. You see? So meaning that limited understanding of child labor, it is also contributing.
You know, it's quite true because the other day should be on Saturday, if not Friday.
Okay.
You know, I was in Lusaka's Kamala, market.
Yeah.
Where I was doing some shopping, and then I saw these two kids lifting the 25 millimeter, if not 10 kgs and 25 kgs. You know, so there was a shop somewhere as you got further towards the railway.
Okay.
So there was a truck, and then there were children offloading some bags of millimeter, and I was like, this is quite strange. I mean, for me personally, it has been a while since I saw a kid, you know, doing such quite, you know, intensive kind of job where you need to lift something that is heavy. So I was really surprised, and I was like, what really is causing this? Like you earlier said, should be the issue of poverty.
Yes.
You know, these kids are coming from not well-to-do families, and the only survival means they have is even them joining the labor force so that they can bring something out of what they are doing. Now, the question is, what's the role of parenthood and also parents taking keen interest in monitoring their children and not forcing them too much on the streets so that they can be working for these piece works, you know, maybe being employed sometimes by these companies, you know, regardless of their age. What's the need and contribution from parents really do we expect? Yeah.
You know, Alex, you and I, we are here because of our parent contributed something to us. So there is need for parents to realize that in their children there is a need, there is a law they have to play in determining the future of their children. You see? You and I, we are here because our parents at the way back, they played a certain law, which need also to be played at other children's law as a parent. You see? But now most of our parents today, it's a little bit strange whereby you can watch your children is going in industry and work instead of telling your children to say, can you go to school? Then you are sending that child to go and look for money in the industry. End of the day, you expect that child to be a better person. In which way? After abandoning education. You see? So it has been quite difficult because of some parents, the way they are engaged to children. Because you can't support your child going to the industry, subtracting the idea of going to school. You know, I would take you to one scenario where at the way back, education was like a privilege. But since now it has made a human right, you see? It has made a human right that any child is his right to go to school. Not as a privilege of chancing to say you have to chance when you have money. No. Anyone have to go to school. They have to take that opportunity.
And now there's no excuse because there's free education. So
there is no excuse to say, No, we don't have
the
money.
School fees.
You know, I'm coming here at a village where education is not easy for you to access education. I have to walk 10 kilometers for myself to reach to my secondary school where I was going. So and that time, it was the issue of paying. And now, since education has been brought to their home, why can't you let your child go to school? You see?
Indeed. Okay, so in case you're just joining us, you know, we're discussing the child rights and also child labor in our societies. You know, documentation have been made on both social media and also on the mainstream media of how some children get to be recruited in the labor sector code and maybe some reasons that they have from their parents and also their families concerning the lack of resources, and they are pushed into this maybe for lack of choices really, but some just negligence from their parents and those who take care of them. And this morning we're joined by child rights advocate, who's Mr. Humphrey Chilala, who's coming to our studios just to, you know, shed more light on the topic. You can even join us using our phone lines that are scrolling on your screens, and also drop a comment on social media, that is the Facebook Camnet TV. You search for that, it pops up, and then you can also like the page and drop your text or your contribution, your questions in the section, in the comment section right there. But here you can call us and we'll be able to have an interaction with you. So Mr. Chilala, you've talked about the causes. Now, what are some of the implications of child labor on children themselves?
Yeah, you know, the implication,
disadvantages,
implication which is there, I would say, even this issue which is being talked about, to say human trafficking, child trafficking, or drug trafficking, is done by children. You see, it promotes prostitution as well, especially to a girl child.
Yeah, a girl
it
child.
Promotes prostitution. You see, in this part of trying to say, maybe if I can have this, let me do this, she engaged herself in prostitution. You know, there were some way back, there was an issue which gone looming on viral on the social media, where people were asked to go outside the country to work. From there, something again happened. You know, human trafficking. So all those issues, they come from issues of child labor. You see, meaning that if child labor is not dealt with, we are not safe. We are not safe.
You talked of funding from the government aspect.
Yeah.
And I mean, what sort of policy direction would you recommend from the government really to tackle this particular issue?
You know, there is what they call policy implementation. We have to implement things and get back to the ground. You see? Because on the ground, that's where the actual things is happening. You see? ILO International Organization, there was a project which they did in Western Province. I don't know whether that project is still existing in that side. There was a project there, and I don't know how far they have gone. Because, you know, it is like here in urban where we are, we find easy things with prostitutions, you see. Then when you go to those areas, that's where you find now children, instead of being to school, they are now sent to go and look after oxen, cows, what in agriculture, you see. And sexual exploitation is one of common child labor in this country we are facing, and in agriculture.
So they are sent to do some works out there,
yes,
at the expense of education.
Yes.
So what measures should we put in place to end that?
As a government, what's supposed to do as for now? It's quite good. There is free education, but we still have more to do to make sure that the children, they are in schools, they have access to education.
There's a period from the Northern Circuit beside Northern Province and Mchinga, where we have the caterpillar season.
Yeah.
And children are part of people that
and you see it very soon. Very soon. They will abandon school and go for caterpillars. Yeah, they will abandon school and go for caterpillars.
Well, what do you make of that? I mean, how do we, curtail that? Because I'm thinking of the economical status of these families.
Yes.
And the only thing they have is, collection of caterpillars. And they cannot do it. Maybe the two parents go in the field. They need all the human resource they need to employ, also the children to go with them. So how do we, because the justification is we want to make money, and this is not just, we're not going forever. She'll go back to school after a month or so. So what do you make out of that balancing economic or survival means to education, and also just making sure that they are not exploited?
One thing that I'll tell you, that education is a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice for it. It doesn't matter whether one child is not there. What is needed, that are you parent, are you doing what is right for that child? And if you choose to say no, you go to school after 1 month, after 2 months, is that child going to cover what his colleagues has learned?
They are missing out.
They are missing out, and teachers continue teaching. You see? So if a parent can give such kind of excuse, then automatically the future of that child is not well seen. You see? Because even that child, if you tell that child to say, you go to school as you are going this side. Mommy, are we not going together? Say, no, you put school first. In his mind, you know that, okay, school is the most important thing that I have to do first.
Indeed.
You see? But now, if we allow their children to say, let's go together, we look for caterpillars. Are you going to be surprised tomorrow when she will say, no? She will say, no, I don't want to go to school today. You won't be surprised, because it will be an habit, because you have started it, you yourself as a parent. You see? So you won't be surprised.
Indeed. So maybe even as we conclude this segment where we're discussing the child labor and also the impact on children, what could be your closing remarks that you appeal to the general public and also to government, those who are listening to you right now?
Okay. My appeal to the government is to come in to look after the child labor issues, because this child labor issues has been happening all over. In mining sector is there, in agriculture is there, and also to provide an awareness to the members of the public. We like awareness what child labor is. This is why it has continued happening. No one is talking about that. It has continued blooming up and down. You see.
Indeed. There you have it from Mr. Chilala, who is actually the child right advocate, and he has been on it since the time in his senior secondary level, where he actually had first encounter of advocating for child rights, and since then he has been working around that. And thank you so much, Mr. Chilala, for making your way into our studios. As we close our segment, we're just going for a short break, and when we come back, we'll jump into another topic that will be discussing the national values, morals, and principles in the light of Easter. Easter celebration and commemoration in this country going on right now. So stay tuned, and we'll come back, we'll continue on that conversation.
to bananas. Working, waiting, this what you've been praying for.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying in tune with us. And right about now, we'll go to another segment, as we promised, to unpack the issue of national values, principles, and morals, especially in the light of Easter holiday that we are actually celebrating and commemorating as a country, a global holiday that the Christian community do celebrate. And that's been really a Christian nation. We thought it is important to actually investigate how much progress we have made this year in terms of adhering to some principles we've enshrined in our constitution. And you should remember also that on Friday, 11th of March 2022, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, addressed the nation on the progress made in the application of the national values and principles, which he delivered to the first session of the 13th National Assembly. And in light of the Easter holiday, as we earlier alluded to, we discuss on this platform how the country is performing in that regard. I'm joined in the studio by Bishop David Masupa, who's actually a clergy based right here in Lusaka, to just help us discuss this particular issue. Good morning, Bishop, and welcome.
Chimba, good morning, and I want to appreciate for your inviting me to Camnet Studios.
Indeed, this is your first time.
This is my first time.
But we usually do stories a lot, actually.
A lot.
Yeah. I hope you're going to have a good time with us in our studios.
Thank you.
And welcome to our studios, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we are opening our phone lines. The numbers that are scrolling on your screens, that is 09686552273, and also 0973167368. So you can call on those lines. And also, we're streaming live on Facebook, that you can drop your comment just for review, for our purpose, to know what you have to say on this topic. Do you feel we are actually heading the right direction in terms of application of the morals and principles, the values that we've set as a country, especially being a Christian nation? And so, Bishop, on this particular conversation, I'll start maybe by, since it's your first time, maybe for those people who might be actually seeing you for the first time, you've been on a lot of issues. We've covered you as Camnet TV and other media houses. And just maybe a little bit of background of how you started this ministry.
Yes, thank you very much. Before I even introduce myself, I think it is very imperative that I appreciate what Sister Victoria and Brother Moses are doing in terms of entrepreneurship, by making sure that they provide leadership through a media station such as Camnet. I want to say that Camnet TV right now is among the few media houses, which has attracted a lot of confidence and trust among the Zambians. What is the reason? Because of your, number one, your objectivity, number two, your truthfulness when you are covering, number three, your honesty, and also you cover from the community up to the top, and you bring the story as it is. So for giving me this opportunity today to come in these studios, I want to say I'm appreciative to your members of staff, and like I mentioned, to the directors of this media house. My full names are Bishop David Musonda Masupa. I'm the president of an umbrella church mother body, which is so vibrant in this nation. And it is close to 20 years in existence. Wow. And it has got almost 750. These are principal, charismatic, evangelical, Pentecostal churches. But at the same time, these same churches do have branches across the nation. If I was to cover how many churches, or to say how many churches, we must be ranging between 2,500 to 3,000. We have structures across the country. In any province where you want to go, you will find there is a bishop there. There is also a provincial chairperson, and indeed a provincial committee, district committees. And why we are doing this, we just want to make sure that charismatic movement in Zambia is well coordinated, and also to make sure that they are abiding by what is required of them by the registrar of society. But so far so good. So this is about myself. I am the founder member of this institution, and I'm proud of it.
Indeed.
Yes.
No, it has made impact as far as we are concerned, the newsmakers. And so, talking of the morals and also the principle values application in our country, like I earlier alluded, we've had the address from the president on March 11th, where he just had to update the nation on how far we've gone and progress we've made as a country in that regard. And we did compile this story. Maybe we can just take a look at that, and when we come back, we'll be able to unpack it even further. So let's just have the president on the SONA in Parliament.
When all is said, what awaits is the implementation, and this journalist took time to speak to some members of Parliament to understand their perspective on President Hakainde Hichilema's address on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. We spoke to Petauke Central Independent Member of Parliament, Emmanuel Banda, who said the president is conversant with the problems the people of Zambia are going through.
To have the president in the house to talk about a number of issues, which I'm sure is on the right track. He knows what we are going through. It's good that he has even mentioned those things which we are going through, like the unemployment of youths. He's aware. I'm sure you have heard him mentioning it, and also a lot of challenges. So in short, for me, on behalf of the people of Petauke, we are happy that at least the president knows what we are going through.
Meanwhile, Chairman of Constituency Patriotic Front PF Member of Parliament Yotam Mutachalo has agreed with President Hakainde Hichilema that the handout culture must come to an end.
I think the president has touched on a number of issues and some critical issues which caught my eye is the issue of the youth unemployment. Youth unemployment remains a time bomb. I totally agree with the president when he says that we can't build societies if we depend on handouts, because currently the young people, every time is just say, oh, honorable, I want this, honorable, I want that. So that is not sustainable. And I want to appeal to our young people that since now under the CDF we have got women and youth empowerment, I think they must take advantage of this window of opportunity so that they can have their own businesses and be able to support themselves.
And PF Mandevu constituency Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa says the United Party for National Development has scored on the aspect of combating cadarism.
The part of cadarism, I think is done fine since being sworn in. Yes, we've had some pockets of violence, especially in my constituency. I was equally attacked, but we have continued to hear the president champion, the call to cadres not to involve themselves in violent acts, in markets, extortion of money. So on that score, I think on that one I say well done. And if we can see the police also and other law enforcement officers to make sure that these cadres are taken out of the police.
Values inform society's thoughts, words and action. Values are important because they help people to grow and develop. Upholding values and principles is a continuous process, and what should be done to avoid going off track. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Friday, 11th March 2022, Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema addressed the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. During his address, the president informed the nation that though the country has made progress in the application of morality and ethics, more still needs to be done as incidences of immoral and ethical conducts have continued to be high. Among some of the major highlights, President Hichilema has expressed disappointment at the high levels of alcohol abuse in the country, especially among the youths.
To the youth, we urge you to refrain from abusing alcohol and other drugs. I must say here, Madam Speaker, there are cases where even adults are involved in this unfortunate situation. Now, if we adults are involved, how are we going to guide our children? Are we going to encourage them to do what is wrong, what destroys them? I think we must check ourselves.
While cases of child marriages and teenage pregnancies have been on the rise in the country, the president has warned that his administration will enforce the law and bring to book those who marry teenage girls, as well as parents and guardians who marry off their young girls.
Forward, government will harmonize all child-related legislation to ensure children's rights and welfare are protected effectively. Madam Speaker, I wish to emphasize a point that has been ignored in the past. Yes, we prosecute those who marry teenager girls. But where are they getting these girls from? From a home, from somewhere. Someone has consented to this marriage. And therefore, we shall also go for parents and guardians who marry off young girls.
The president also touched on work ethics and conduct of professionals in the country who are in a habit of waiting for handout instead of working hard.
Embrace the value of hard work, Madam Chair. I shall repeat this. We have noticed that we have a declining work habit in our country, work culture in our country. Citizens want to line up for handouts without working. We can't build a nation on this basis, Mr. Speaker. This is the attitude that destroys nations slowly.
Among other things, a number of important aspects such as the need to love one another as this is the only way of ending political violence was also emphasized by the president. The head of state also urged employers in the country to comply with the labor laws and create a conducive work environment for their employees. Other important aspect raised by the head of state is the need to end indiscriminately waste disposal, which has been a leading cause to most calamities in the country. And the president has reaffirmed that Zambia is a Christian nation and will remain as such. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it, the president addressing the nation on the 11th of March 2022, where he just had to make an update on the progress made by the nation in application of the principles, national values, principles and morals, and also ethics. So we get on in our studios, we're joined by Bishop David Masupa, was actually president for Independent Churches of Zambia and based right here in Lusaka. So we get to actually interact on that conversation. You can actually join us using the numbers that are scrolling on the screens, and also on Facebook you can drop your comment in the comment section and we'll be able to review those comments. So right about now we've seen a number of issues which were raised, quite important of issues in that address. And that just at the end of the story, which was compiled by Prudence, it talks of the need for love, the need for peace, so that we get past the political violence and also past the hate speech that we see sometimes in both social media and mainstream media. What's your take on that, really the importance of love among the citizens?
Well, first of all, Shimba, we want to appeal to our leaders in the nation that today is Easter Monday. We are just coming from Good Friday, Saturday, Holy Saturday, and indeed Sunday, and today it's Easter Monday. What is the significance of Easter? We want to make mention that in this nation of our country, it is very easy for leaders to rhetorically speak and say we are a Christian nation, whilst their actions is inverse to their words. We want people to make Easter a reality, because Easter is significant in the life of Christians. Those that proclaim that they are Christians, then they should take Easter very seriously. As you are aware that God himself has given us a gift of his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. But if you read John 3:16, it starts first of all with love that you're asking for, asking about. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that those that believe in him should not perish, but have the eternal life. So how are we responding to the love which God has given us? It is coming with grace, which is the unmerited favor. We don't deserve it. Scripture tells us that yet when we were sinners, Christ died for us. And this is what he has done on Easter. But he has not only died for us, he has also redeemed our sins. I like what scripture says in Mark chapter 16, verse 3, and probably verse 4. When early in the morning, as in the yesterday, the Bible tells us that Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother to James and Salome, early in the morning, with the precious ointment that they had, they rushed to the tomb when they reach there, they start wondering who is going to help us roll away that large stone which is on the mouth of the tomb. But as they get closer, they find that that large stone has been rolled away, and they enter inside. So I just want to remind people that you could be passing through hell. The nation could be passing through, we may be locked up in a tomb of problems. We may be locked up in a tomb of unemployment as a country because of this large stone. This Easter, I have a good news for them. That large stone has been rolled away. Christ has risen, is no longer in that tomb. And that is the gift of love which God has given us through Jesus Christ. We would really be very happy if from this Easter we can see behavioral change among our leaders to mean what they speak, to mean the words that come out of their mouths of peace, love, and unity. But if they speak these nice three words and we see what is on the ground is opposite, then Chishimba, that is all vain. You see, the same scripture of Mark 16, verse 7. When they rush now, because Jesus is not there, the Bible tells us that a young man, an angel who was in that tomb, tells them, why are you searching for the living among the dead? So they rush out. Mary Magdalene meets Jesus and say, take this message to my disciples that I have risen, and Peter, to my disciples and Peter. Why? It's because right before he was caught in the Garden of Gethsemane, Peter vowed that he would not deny Jesus when he was reminded. But you see, Christ has forgiven. If it was somebody else, he would be remembering. He denied me, and so forth and so on. So I want to urge the political cadres, the supporters, especially of the UPND. We are aware of the fact that our president, Hakainde Hichilema, could have passed through persecutions, could have been tried, could have been taken to Mukobeko. This is a time to reflect that after all this, let him say what Christ Jesus said on the cross of Calvary before he died. He said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Chishimba, before I stop on this one, I just want to emphasize that in the inaugural speech of our president, that gave me a lot of confidence and trust and belief in him, was that my role is to unite and foster peace among all the Zambians, irrespective of the tribe and region. Where is this violence? Where is it coming from? It is coming from agitators, oppressors, those that want to see civil strife. But we call upon what the president said in this address of national values and principles, that more importantly, without love, we cannot achieve the national values and principles. So it's very important.
Zambia as a nation happens to be one of the few countries who have gone out in public to just proclaim itself as, and declare itself as a Christian nation, even going as far as enshrining itself in the constitution as a part of a preamble. But talk of the happenings, like you earlier alluded to, we've seen thousands of divorce cases, and also others are still, even pleading in high courts as we talk. Where is Christianity reflection in that? We've seen, you know, people, especially in leadership portfolios, you know, making these, you know, a speech or whatever utterances that they are making just in benefit of pulling up the crowds so that they can be in support of whatever they are doing. Where is Christianity in there? I'm sure you have something to take out of that.
Yes, Chimba, it's very sad that probably the issue of divorce cannot be left to families alone or government. It is an issue which is a bull which the church should take by its horns and struggle with it to pull it down. Why do I say? Because it's one of the biblical norms and values is to be faithful to your partner. If then we look at the statistics, which states that above 95% of Zambians are Christians, it means that if then we are all Christians, following the norms and the values of Christianity, where we know very well that God hates divorce, Malachi 2:16. Not only that scripture, but so many scriptures that has been alluded to, especially by Apostle Paul. If you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 9 and 10, where he said it's not good for the husband to leave his wife. It's better that they stay together. So this is quite a complex issue, and I want to urge those of you who are just getting married, especially you, our youths, our children, that this is not a play walk. Marriage is a life commitment. Marriage is a serious business engagement, because it is an agreement not only between the two of you, but also with God. This is why God himself takes marriage institution and likens it to his a church, that is God and his church. You understand? So what do I want to underscore here? I want to agree with you that statistics, especially if we look at the records of last year, as recorded in the Daily Mail, it states that 25,851 were divorce cases. We don't know the records of today, because it was estimated that the divorce cases are increasing almost by 25%. But I want to say that we do not only have to marry these people through pre-marriage counseling, let's also intensify in post-marriage counseling. It is our responsibility as a church to embark on it. Like I said, let's take this bull, pull it down by its horns, by making sure that post-marriage counseling is embarked on. Not only that, we would want to have a situation where chaplains, pastors, reverends, bishops are allowed in certain institutions. In fact, in all institutions. We are aware right now that they've implemented integrity committees. Why can't they have a chaplain coming in on a Friday or on a Sunday just to speak to couples, those who are married, to counsel them? So this is something that we need to work on, because as we start building a family, we are building a stable society. I noticed that the President of the Republic of Zambia talked about a lot of delinquencies. He talked about teen marriages, he talked about drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and so forth and so on. Why are these coming in, Shimba? They are coming in because the families among these marriages, they've not been built from the foundation of Christian moral values and ethics. By the way, I want to make mention that in fact, to what you have stated in the Constitution, in Article 8 itself, where it talks about moral values and ethics, we need to add Christian values and ethics. Why do we say that? We say that because when you talk about morals and values, we differ. There is a variation in society setting. Some society, what is normal to them may not be normal to Zambia. I would give you an example. In the Scandinavian countries, I'm sorry to cite that, but I did part of my master's degree in one of those countries. Okay? So, to them, a man kissing another man, that's not a big deal. Okay? So you're talking about homosexuality, lesbianism, they marry each other. But are those moral values according to their culture? I would say yes, because even when they are doing those things, they would not be arrested. So when we leave it like that, we are leaving a gap, we are leaving room for anything to creep in our country. So let's go, yes, we need to add.
Okay, that's interesting. And one would argue really, like, check, I'm going through a very abusive marriage, and the only survival alternative is for me to get a divorce from this husband or maybe wife. What would be your reaction to that? But before you just jump on that, we actually compiled some stories that reflect these domestic conflicts that people have gone through, and also the issue of GBV that happens in these homes, like you earlier alluded. And we have a couple of them, and when we come back, we'll be able to actually tackle on that issue. Let's just take a look on these news items.
In November 2021, Grace Mwape of Lusaka's Kanyama compound featured on Camnet TV, narrating how she had been a victim of gender-based violence. Not long after her story was aired, the same year, Camnet TV carried a story of a 15-year-old girl of Mazabuka district in Southern Province who was forced into marriage by her elder brother. Cases of domestic violence and early marriages continue to be rampant in most parts of the country. In 2017, Zambia adopted a national strategy to end child marriage. As Zambia put its effort in tackling these issues, Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights Organization continues to be in the forefront, working toward eradicating all forms of violence against women and girls in the country. The organization has launched an Eliminating Child Marriage and Gender-Based Violence Against Women campaign in Lusaka's Kanyama compound, an area very well known by many for such kind of vices.
Of gender-based violence. We have decided to have this meeting today, this launch today, because of increased number of deaths due to gender-based violence and also early marriages.
In March this year, the organization held a similar program in Mazabuka district, Southern Province, with different views from parents voicing out on the said issue. But this time around, it was held in Lusaka's Kanyama constituency, with the constituency area member of parliament, Monty Chikuli, cautioning parents fond of doing such.
We are coming up with a law which will punish the one who marries a child. That law will visit you. and not only with this due, but to punish you. Then on top of that, the parent or the guardian who marries off that young child, Zamugirani. And Zamugirani this, Mavota.
On the other hand, some parents claim that children are the ones who indulge themselves many a times in such cases.
Benango bana ungamuze mwana kuti chene uchita nchoipa ufunika utekanye benango bana bakana school so te kuti mkolo imakhala ilibe mphamvu kuli mwana benango bana bali hai mkolo imakhala pansi so mkumusiya kuti azazionera mbachikabwera chite chintu kama wachiona chija chintu chenitenza kuuza kuti nchoipa.
Although the Marriage Act in Zambia sets the legal minimum age of marriage at 21, however, a child can marry from the age of 16 under customary law with written consent from their legal guardian, laws which need to be revisited. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia in the recent past has seen a number of cases as confirmed by the Zambia Police Service involving domestic violence, either between couples or better still family members. These developments have worried some stakeholders, noting that if left unattended to, the cases may rise to unprecedented numbers. In an interview, Independent Church of Zambia President Bishop David Masupa has noted that there is need for stakeholders such as the church, civil society organizations, and the government to make efforts in curbing these vices.
Each other or shedding blood of the innocent. We condemn these barbaric acts of murder that is on the rise in the recent past in our country. We remind those perpetrators of such heinous acts that you will also be punished under the full wrath of God.
Bishop Masupa has since challenged families across the country to seek counsel and help from relevant authorities when faced with conflicts.
Learn something. Remember, the church is there to help you. The clergy are there to come in to resolve your conflicts. Let's not kill one another, but let's learn to resolve any difference, any conflict in a Christian manner.
Meanwhile, Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights Director Richard Nkoa says much sensitization is required for people to learn conflict management at every degree.
Again, we have got the police victim support unit. They are there. It's not that when you take the matter to the police, just there and then they will arrest you. No. The victim support unit is there to help the community. We totally condemn this issue of resorting to physical battering, physical of defending defending yourself. I think that is not the best way. The best way, we need to come up with a program. We need to come up with a system that can help the communities. And also, us, if we are offended, we should find ways how to handle a situation.
Mr. Nkoa since condemned the recent report of a murder case in Lusaka's Helen County compound.
We are very much disturbed, like the case which happened in Elenkaunda, where you kill a person, then you bury that particular person behind the house. What is the logic? What is the reason for that? We are condemning such a barbaric act as a nation because there is no way we can lose a life of a person for nothing.
Among the notable cases recorded by Zambia Police Service is one that occurred on 4th February 2022, a murder case involving a woman allegedly burnt to death by her husband in Chipata. A similar case was confirmed by police where a man in Lusaka's Ngombe area allegedly murdered his girlfriend in his own house. And the recent case occurred 13th February 2022, where police apprehended and detained 2 suspects in connection to circumstances surrounding the death. A victim was discovered buried behind the house in Elenkaunda, where she was staying with her sister. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
There you have it. In case you're just joining us, we've been unpacking the issue of national values, our principles and morals, and what is the progress that we are making as a country in actually handling that aspect. And you might be aware that we are actually receiving calls, and you can join us on this conversation by you calling us and also dropping your text on comment section that is on Facebook, Camnet TV, and you'll be able to interact in that manner. Now, Bishop, just before we went to review those two stories, I asked the question that there are people who are actually faced with challenges in these houses where they can't really go on with the person they got married to, and maybe something happened that they, in the middle of the way, they discover this person is not as loving as he used to be before, he's not considerate as he used to be before, and he tends to be abusive, or she tends to be abusive, because it happens vice versa to men and women out there. So what could be the alternative if you're actually advocating for end to divorce, as you may put it on record?
Well, first of all, there is no alternative to divorce. It is a lifetime commitment, and it's biblical and c'est fini.
So people shouldn't divorce?
Yes. So God has put a man and a woman together to start a responsible family. And it is that family which will give us indeed products that are worthy to be able to bring productivity, a workforce, if you want, and bear fruit, if you want, in terms of prosperity in the nation. So all these delinquencies which we are seeing is as a result of improper marriages. So a church, as an institution, has a responsibility to make sure that we do not only involve ourselves in preaching Sunday in, Sunday out. Mm-hmm. We need to reach out as Christians to different homes to find out, home to home, door to door, how are they living. I'm sure I'm speaking this in Camnet studio today, but as you showed, I'm an advocate, an activist of being faithful in marriages. So I'm urging my fellow clergy, Chishimba, that when we start looking for alternatives, that because there is a problem in a home, then people should be separated or should be on divorce. The moment we are doing that, we are going against a biblical principle which God has laid out, that I, as God, I hate divorce. Because if we look at scripture, in the scripture that I referred to, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, it has clearly stated under which circumstance can a divorce happen. So a divorce cannot happen where there is no unfaithfulness. A divorce cannot happen. No, let me finish. You are going to come in. A divorce or a separation cannot happen where people married each other as Christians, believers. You understand? Because to some extent now we have seen even pastors, bishops, trying to get some scripture, mix it here and there, and make a cocktail and lie to say, no, because my wife is an unbeliever. You come, sit here. This is what scripture is saying. I have failed to cope up with her. No, that marriage can still be mended through post-marriage counseling. You understand? So if we start allowing excuses other than that of death, especially, which is the only epitaph, if I can put it that way, which guarantees one to let the wife go, then as a nation, we are going to compromise on our moral fabric of the nation. So if you marry your wife, know that that is a life commitment until death do you part.
Speak to that one person who's experiencing quite an abusive relationship, a marriage that is just, you know, abusive. And I've taken note of this word when someone is appealing for divorce in high courts, you know, lamentably. And relationship can't be irreparably. There is nothing that we can
irretrievable.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've come together and we've tried to talk, but really we just come to terms that we need to separate. Talk to that individual.
Yes.
What could be the alternative? If
well, the alternative is post-marriage counseling. We need to commit our marriage unto God. This is why we always encourage. We are having a lot of people now, a lot of women, especially young ladies.
We have one call. Let's just take it. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, happy Easter.
Hello.
Happy Easter.
Hello.
Are you able to get us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, your name and where you're calling us from, please.
I'm calling you from Southwest. Pastor Tembo.
All right, Pastor, go on with your contribution, please.
Hello.
You can go ahead with your contribution. We're able to get you.
Yes, this is quite a very good discussion. And good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Pastor Tembo.
Yes, I want to find out, what about if it is a situation whereby this particular person has been married to somebody who is a Christian or a man of God, but actually these people, they are fighting near each and every day. What could be the solution? What can we do?
Thank you so much for that question. I'm sure Bishop will be able to take it up. Thank you so much, Pastor Chembo from Lusaka West. We actually appreciate for your call.
Maybe just quickly, let me just come in. I did allude to the fact that we are having these churches in thousands. And these are some of the problems that we are having. They are coming back to us to make mention that, look, my wife, I've married her, but we are fighting, she's fighting me. Recently, I had an issue, which names I will not mention, where a pastor comes and says, my wife is beating me too much. So even when you are forcing us to go together, she will go and beat me, and so forth and so on. We offered counseling. We said, okay, let your wife be counseled by our women's affairs department, and they arranged for the dates. When they went back there, because it was purported, the wife came to report at first that this man has started moving with an usher in the church, or a praise and worship a member. You understand? So when they went back, they've never come back. The only thing is that we've written back to them to say, well, we have to take a disciplinary action against them. So we want to encourage Pastor Tembo that this is the more so reason why there are clergy, senior clergy in the country, not necessarily under any umbrella, but those that are your spiritual fathers. Go and sit down with them. They will give you a post-marriage counseling, and those conflicts will end. First of all, I want also to make mention that I've been married for the last 39 years myself. Okay. I may look young.
Yeah,
but,
that's quite a long time.
But I'm quite a giant in as far as marriage issues are concerned.
I like the term giant.
So before I got completely converted to be born again, the first 5 years, we were having problems with my wife. We used to fight. I'm sorry to make mention on Camnet. She's watching me, but it's a testimony, baby, so that others can look up to us. But when we had put our marriage in the Lord. To death we stand to counsel and we boast, and only death will do us part.
That's a great one. Now, as we conclude, I'm afraid we are running out of time. And just a quick one as we conclude, how much is the church really doing in ensuring that there is that conserved moral fiber in our country? Talk of Easter as we celebrate Easter Monday today. And there are issues really, the drug abuse among the youths, like Eddie alluded to, the divorce cases, the utterances of hate speech, such things. Where do the church come in, and how much have you done as a church?
Well, first of all,
the moral fiber.
This is why we need what I would call a spiritual transformation in the delivery of the Word of God and the programs and activities that we are having within our churches. Because if I am going to be a traditional, conventional reverend or bishop who can only come on Sunday, preach to the people whilst they are seated in the pulpits, or in their chairs, without them responding to me. And I know that there are a lot of youths, I know that there are a lot of married couples. Why can't I come up with an innovative program and activity which can be able to change some of these vices? Whether we like it or not, we need to understand that youths are facing a lot of challenges, like we have watched. Okay? We've seen that the youths are involved in drug abuse, alcohol abuse, because some of these youths, as they come to our churches, they pretend. But after that 13 hours, we don't know what they do after the church services, from Monday to Saturday. They may have midweek programs in between, but we are not God or the Holy Spirit to be with them every now and then. So let's inculcate, let's bring in transformative, innovative programs that would be able to suit the 21st cultural way and setting of living, so that we can remain relevant. Otherwise, the church may be irrelevant. I would give you an example.
Under a minute,
yes, because the church is so boring among the youths, apart from just singing, but we can bring in a lot of spiritual activities within the church in terms of recreation, in a Christian spiritual way, to attract them from all these vices. I thank you.
Thank you so much. That is Bishop David Masupa. Masupa was actually clergy and also president of the Independent Churches of Zambia. And we've been discussing the national values, morals, and principles. How much application have we made and progress have we made as a country? And really, we tackled a number of issues. Talk of the divorces cases and also the issue of drug abuse among the youths, and also the issue of just, making sure that those people in leadership actually adhere to good speech and not ride on hate speech, as it were. And there we have it for today. I've been your host, Alex Shimba. Earlier on, we had Dr. Valika, who was actually taking us into the issues to do with mental health, and later on cholera update. And we also earlier on did made an interview with Mr. Humphrey Chilala, who actually talked on the child rights and also child labor. Is actually a child rights advocate. And now we've been discussing the national values. So this is where we come to an end of today's edition of our breakfast show. I'm your host, like I earlier mentioned, Alex Shimba. And tomorrow we come same time for 2 hours, from 7 hours to 9 hours. And tomorrow, do remember, I'm with my co-host, Zipporah Mshala, who was not with me today, but tomorrow we'll be having that conversation, interesting topics to mention. So from me, have a good morning and happy Easter Monday. Thank you.